in church affairs. And Jefferson said, look, there is a wall of separation between the federal government and the church. No need to worry about that. That was a restriction on the government, by the way. It did not impede or restrict the church from influencing government. And we have totally forgotten that.
Another thing Nelson has heard is that we should not impose our morality on others, or that we should not legislate morality. But Nelson said that all laws have some form of morality undergirding them, and it's just a question of whose morality will inform the public policies of the day.
And today we have a secular, humanistic, and quite frankly, a destructive morality, worldview, that undergirds many of the policies. This is something that, as Christians, we cannot stand by.
I'm Chris Woodward.
Florida residents are returning home after Hurricane Milton devastated their communities, and many are finding it difficult to get gas and other supplies. Fox's Jonathan Seri reports from Bradenton Beach.
By early Tuesday morning, more than 80% of Florida service stations had fuel, according to Gas Buddy. But in hard-hit central Gulf Coast communities, including Tampa and Sarasota, the figure was closer to 50%, with long lines at many pumps.
Yeah, it's been pretty difficult because, lines are down the street, and then people are running out of gas before you can even get to it.
Hurricanes Helene and Milton have also disrupted Florida's agriculture economy. Florida Congressman Michael Waltz weighed in on Fox.
My concern really right now is with our farmers inland. Fields are flooded, crops are flooded, can't feed livestock, and Biden's Secretary of Agriculture will not push the money down to the states like President Trump's secretary did.
We're told the Biden administration has approved over $800 million in aid for areas affected by Hurricanes Milton and Helene. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says citrus production is expected to be disrupted, specifically oranges and grapefruit. Walgreens announced this morning it will close about 1,200 locations over the next 3 years as the drugstore chain seeks to turn around a struggling U.S. business that contributed to a $3 billion quarterly loss. The company said that about 500 store closures will come in the current fiscal year and should immediately support adjusted earnings and free cash flow. Walgreens didn't say where the store closings would take place. We're told all of the stores that will be closed are in the United States. North Korea has taken action to separate itself from the South. Here's Fox's Alex Hogan reporting from London.
North Korea today blew up roads that once connected it to the south. Less than a week ago, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un vowed he would permanently block the border between the two countries. Well, today, Pyongyang carried out that choreographed demolition. It was earlier this year when Kim announced that the North would abandon the goal of a peaceful Korean unification and formally designated South Korea as the country's principal enemy. South Korea today responded with artillery fire into the DMZ while also beefing up its forces at the border. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
In final news, a Massachusetts resident is being fined for a political display on public property. Fox's Jonathan Saucier explains.
The municipal water tower in Hanson, Mass. has an interesting projection showing on one side where a local resident is projecting a Trump 2024 sign onto it from their property. The town does not allow political signs to be displayed on municipal property and is fining the resident $100 per day that they continue to do so. The highway department is flashing their own light up there at night to make it harder to read. The town is concerned the action may cost taxpayer dollars that the daily $100 fines won't cover. John Saucier, Fox News.
You can find more news at afn.net. I'm Bronson Woodruff.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source.
The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to thegodwhospeaks.org to get your copy today. thegodwhospeaks.org. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Today's Issues program here on the American Family Radio Network for this Tuesday, October the 15th, 2024. Thanks for listening to AFR. Joining me in studio is Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Tim.
Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning.
And Chris Woodward.
Hello.
How you doing, brother Chris?
I'm well.
How are the Miami Dolphins, your team, doing this year in the
Not
NFL?
good.
Okay.
They are under 500. They're 2-3, thanks to the field goal, the place kicker being good at his job in the most recent matchup against New England. Tua
I just needed the record.
Yeah, they're 2-3. They're bad.
But
I was enjoying this. I was getting caught
Chris
up.
Is getting, he can give us all the reasons for the good, bad, and the ugly. I like a fan like that.
Tua might come back in about a month.
Okay.
And by that point, it doesn't really matter.
Right, for another concussion.
Yes, yes.
All right, so it is the middle of football season. You know how I can tell we're getting close to the election?
Okay.
We got an election coming up, right?
21
3
days
weeks from today.
We don't
3
know about
weeks from
that.
today.
But how? How?
Well,
we're getting close.
Well, I can tell election season or election day, because where we live here in North Mississippi, the cotton is showing up.
Okay.
So it's white now. It's white into harvest.
Yes, it is.
In some places, it's already been.
And that only happens in the middle of October. So we're like 3 weeks, Fred?
3 weeks from today.
3 weeks from today. Now, what's going to be what are we going to be doing here at American Family Radio?
We at American Family Radio that evening, starting at 6 o'clock Central, we'll have the whole team here. Tim, you'll be here. Ed will be here. Wesley will be here.
Yeah.
I'll be here. Chris will be here. Steve will be here. And we will bring you the latest results because we start then at 6 o'clock Central because on the East Coast, polls are starting to close in some of those states. So we'll have – this is going to be – a lot of people are saying this is the most critical election in recent history. And I tend to agree with that. But what makes it interesting is these states, these so-called states that, are the barometer as to how the night is going to go. So we're going to start to see results from Pennsylvania, from Michigan, Georgia, Ohio, a little bit later on in the evening, Wisconsin, and into Nevada, all of those. So it's going to be an exciting night to be tuned into American Family Radio. We will give you the latest results and lots of commentary.
Does as far as mail-in voting or as far as people vote in advance, when do those numbers? Does that vary from state to state?
It varies from state to state. Yes.
Okay.
I don't understand all the rules about that. We should probably look that up or put our newsman Chris Woodward for us tomorrow. But I know that
or absentee voting, those types of.
I understand. When are they tallied?
Yeah.
You want my opinion? Yes, Tim, we do. So we don't have anybody else, right? Just us, right? Okay. Ray's not here today. So you should tally them now. You should have those votes. If people are sending in early registrations, early voting, I should say, absentee voting, they should be counted now. I think that's what Florida does.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I could be corrected, but I believe Florida, that's why you see the results that night.
Yeah. So Florida will wrap their voting up. Florida's the third largest state in America, okay, and by population. And they will have their voting wrapped up on time that night. You'll know who won Florida. And these other states, I'm starting to rant again. I can feel myself ranting. These other states, like Pennsylvania, will go on 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
Because they'll be counting. I'm exaggerating here, and I don't know why these states don't do it like Florida. I don't know. Go ahead.
Now, the next question for me: did Florida happen? They don't. While they may tally them up before they did, not may they did. They do apparently. They don't release the count results until
they
until
do.
The polls close.
Okay.
The polls close.
But they don't release it day by day or week by week.
No, they're not.
That was my question.
Yes, no, they're not telling people now how the vote is going.
That's what I was.
No, they only do that, as Fred said, when the polls close on election night.
Yes.
So
cool.
Anyway, but we'll see how it goes. But it's We used to have election day
I know,
in America,
right?
and now we have election season.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Like football season, we have election season.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. We need to have an election day everywhere. We need to have election day. And then if you need to vote absentee or prior to, okay.
There
But
needs to be some pretty strenuous, and then maybe there are.
I
but
think
there
you need
needs
to,
to
I
be-
think you need to have a reason.
Yeah,
You have to
very.
work
That's what I was
for it.
going to say.
Pretty
But
much
anyway.
nowadays, it's just I don't want to leave my house. Oh, okay,
Right.
here you go.
Yeah, people may disagree with me on that one. I understand. I say, why does it matter? I guess, but I just think, to me, I'm a little suspicious when you have 6 weeks of voting, and the accuracy of that, and who's keeping up with that, and where the chain of what do you call that in court? Chain of
Chain-
Chain of events and
chain. Well, custody. Chain of
Custody, yeah.
custody.
Yes,
Go ahead,
yes.
Wes.
Well, the point that you're making, and the obvious one, is that the more options and the more extensions you give,
Yeah.
the more likelihood of, and let's just err on the side of there's no foul play, but people make mistakes. There's more mistakes can
Right.
be made when you have more
Right.
options.
Right.
So,
right.
anyways, but
Yeah,
I was just
but-
wondering how that
so,
works.
So we got 3 weeks from today
yes, sir.
is election
Yeah.
night. And Chris, what election news do you bring to us?
Well, I want to bring our attention to something Fred posted just before the show. A Georgia judge has ruled county election officials must certify election results by the deadline set in law and cannot exclude any group of votes from certification even if they suspect error or fraud. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney ruled that no election superintendent or member of a board of elections and registration may refuse to certify or abstain from certifying election results under any circumstance. The ruling comes as early voting begins today in Georgia. So to put that in a much smaller context here, a Georgia judge has ruled that county election officials must certify election results within a certain time frame. Georgia does not appear to be one of those places that we're going to wait on for days or weeks.
Yeah.
Good.
Fred, you were saying you don't like that, or you do like it, or what does it matter?
Well,
what is it? What are they saying exactly?
Well, there's a group that is backed by the Trump campaign that wanted to give election superintendents the right to hold off, because right now the votes in Georgia have to be certified by 5 p.m. on the Monday following the election.
Okay.
All right.
That's
So,
a week.
A week.
Roughly.
All right. The Trump campaign has been asking for election superintendents to have the right, if they have suspicions of voter fraud, to delay that certification beyond 5 p.m. the following Monday. This judge is saying, no, there is nothing in law
Okay.
that allows the election officials to do that. The judge did say, if there is concern about fraud or something fishy going on, that the election officials can go to a higher up.
I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Yes. So there is still the option, if these election superintendents say, I'm a little
There's
worried.
an appeal process.
I'm worried about this box right here.
Right.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind there's 2 Georgias, Atlanta and the rest of the state.
Right.
That's
Right.
a good point.
Well, Georgia's supposed to be close, just like a lot of these other swing states. Georgia's supposed to be close. I don't know if you guys have I call them indicators. I'm talking about the race between Trump and Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wish Walker were here. Maybe you guys know this because Walker was one that sent this to me, Walker Wildman. The indicators favor Trump.
Yes.
In the swing states.
Yes.
Correct.
Which is where the election will be won or lost. And a month ago, they favored Harris.
Yes.
But they flipped. And what do you say? Well, what indicators are you talking about? Well, if you look at the 2016, Clinton had a big lead in all the swing states. Did we call them swing states then, Fred? I guess we did. If you by big, I mean like 6 points
or more in some cases.
Yes. If you look at 2020, Biden had like a 4 or 5 point lead. And I'm speaking generally here in the swing states. Well, as we know, that turned out to be wrong in 2016 because Trump won Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Barely, but he did win. So those 6-point Clinton advantages were not real. Didn't turn out to be real. In 2020, Biden's 5-point advantages did not turn out to be real because we had razor-thin results in those swing states. Remember, we had to wait forever. Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. Remember that?
One of them.
I mean, I was ready to kick these states out of the union. I mean, I thought we should call for a vote. You know what I'm saying? So that turned out. So what I'm saying is Harris and Trump are virtually tied now.
Yes.
In the same states that Biden was way ahead, barely won. Hillary Clinton was way ahead and didn't win.
Right.
So that I'm saying that's an indicator that who knows how it'll turn out, but that bodes well for former President Trump.
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got something. Chris has something too.
Well, yeah. To your point here,
I've got a lot of points.
Well,
Which
to your
one do you
point
want to point
specifically,
at?
the one you just made.
The really good one.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
I've got audio from a guy named Steve Kornacki. He is NBC's election analyst. He's the guy they truck out to touch the monitor and make.
And he's about to plagiarize me. Is that what you're telling me?
He says something very similar to what you just shared.
Right.
He is saying here on air on NBC that Harris, the 5-point advantage that she had over Trump in NBC polling in just recent weeks, that is now gone. And listen to the very end here and spot what he says in the out
right.
clip 1.
I mean, the top line is the 5-point advantage that Kamala Harris had in our last poll is gone. What's behind that shift?
Yeah, exactly, Savannah. I mean, just look at them side by side and you can see it. Remember that poll we took a month ago that you see here? It was just after that first Trump-Harris debate. Since then, we've had the VP debate. There have been some campaign activities, some interviews, some things that have changed in that time. I think this might be the biggest for Harris. We just asked the basic image perception people have. Is it positive or negative of these candidates? The Trump number's always been somewhere in this territory. In fact, this is a little bit high for him, believe it or not, 43% positive. But look at Harris, 43 positive, 49 negative. The significance, we polled this a month ago. She was 48% positive and 45 negative. She was above water, as they say. That's completely reversed. It now looks very similar to Trump's. That's a pretty big shift when you're talking about a race this close. And then there's the weight of the fact she's the VP in an unpopular administration.
The VP in an unpopular administration.
Yeah.
And she's pledging a new way forward.
I also think that her selection for running mate, Tim Walz, is dragging her down. J.D. Vance did very well against him in that debate just a couple of weeks ago with Tim Walz. His credibility, there's been a count of like about 30 lies that he has told over the years.
He's just a knucklehead.
And the other thing
that's what he says.
Yeah, well, that's self-confessed knucklehead. Yeah. So, but the other thing that is happening, you can see the panic in the Kamala Harris camp. This push that we talked about, I think yesterday, for the black male vote. The polling is showing, party polling is showing, Democrat Party polling is showing that has become amongst male voters very soft. Now, some on the left have said, well, it's just these young black male voters. They don't like the fact that she's a woman. And that has been countered by talking to some examples of folks who fit that constituency, and they say no. I mean, we don't like her because of her border policies. We don't like the way the economy is going. That's the big one. That's the big one for them, like it is for whether it's male or female, black or white or brown or whatever the case may be.
They're precious in his sight.
Yes, exactly. But you can see the panic. Another indicator, the Kamala Harris yesterday was they're raising questions about Trump's mental state. All right, this is the Kamala Harris that told us that Joe Biden he's just excellent. He's right on it every day. So there is panic in the Kamala Harris camp, and it's being manifested in the way the statements are being made publicly. But I think, as this NBC analyst says, as you're saying, Tim, the trends are not good for Kamala Harris right now.
And she has a really hard time anytime she does an interview or she does a town hall or she's having to answer questions about what are you going to do.
Yes.
In the event you become president. When she's put in any of those situations, she has a really hard time answering them. And Walz does as well. I mean, Walz could not come to the conclusion that there's something wrong with the border in the sense that he refused to answer. What about the 100? He was asked in an interview, what about the hundred or more of the border policies that Harrison reversed? Was that a good decision or bad decision? Because the American people in general, that's a big issue for them. That's in the top 3.
Yes.
And so if you can't answer the question, well, maybe we would do things different if we could go back and give some form of an answer. He gave a non-answer to an issue that matters to both Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
This idea, by the way, you're listening to Today's Issues. You're listening to the program Today's Issues here on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Fred, Wesley, and Chris. Listen. Vice President Harris and her running mate Governor Walz from Minnesota. This idea that you have anything at all to say about the massive illegal immigration into this country the last 3.5 years, you need to stop.
Yeah, that's right.
You need to stop and talk about something else.
Yeah.
Because
complete failure.
Well, I say it was a success.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, in the sense of what they were trying to accomplish.
No,
yeah.
Biden.
Yeah, that's right.
And Harris wanted to open the borders.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And they did.
Yes.
They wanted to open they don't like borders. Borders are immoral.
Right.
Okay, especially Harris.
Yes.
Biden, I don't even know. Biden knew what's going on hardly when he took office because
but he did say in the debate back in 2020,
Yeah.
what did he say? If I'm elected, I will invite a surge.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. And Harris and Biden, when asked by the interviewers during the debate, the Democrat debate, they asked the Democrat candidates, if you're for paying for health care for everybody who comes here from, this is how I phrase it. Yeah. This isn't how they phrased it, but this is in essence. Raise your hand if you want to pay for health care for anybody who comes from here illegally from around the world. That they would have called it migrates or whatever like that because they don't believe in the word illegal. Biden and Harris raised their hands.
That's right.
So to say, Biden did say, I would invite a surge, and he also said, I'll pay for all their health care. Well, that, my friends, is called incentives with a capital I. And guess what the world people decided, especially we just emptied out Central America. Okay, there's nobody left there.
Well, we took their best.
There's nobody left in Central America to turn the lights off, okay, if there are lights. And also it's been well documented all the people that have come from around the world.
150 countries.
150 countries. Estimates, who knows, but at least 12 to 15 million people over the last 3 years have come into our country, walked into our country, been given cell phones. And it's just you can't have a country if you don't have sovereign land and borders. So my point is that now you have Walz, who I could load a gun better than he has shown yesterday, and maybe we'll talk about that.
You need a video for that, though.
It's a lesson in how not to load a gun.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, for Harris, what is 2 weeks ago? Didn't she go down to the border and for a photo op?
Oh yeah.
And that's why Walz can't answer the question. Back to your original point, Wesley. Governor Walz can't answer the question about what you would do differently to control the border because there is no answer because he, like she, don't believe in borders. So you always have to ask the question: what are don't give me your words, give me your actions, or at least give me your actions first. The actions of Vice President Harris, the borders is to let everybody in who wants to come in, and that's what's going to continue if she's elected president.
Yeah.
So
and their effort to try to say Well, Donald Trump didn't want that legislation to secure the border is not working.
No.
Because
No.
people understand the vast majority of the 15 to 20 million who have entered this country illegally, all of that occurred before that legislation, that bill even came up.
Right. Yeah, they say Trump killed that. They always call it comprehensive immigration bill. Well, you know what? You know what the Democrats mean by comprehensive immigration legislation? That's everybody. That's still everybody come.
Yes.
And don't do anything. That basically.
Yeah, remember they wanted within that comprehensive in quotes bill, they had they were going to allow so many thousands of immigrants a day, illegal immigrants a day. They were still
5,000 a day. Then I guess they're sitting there counting them, and 5,001. Oh, whoa! We got to stop right here.
Yeah.
You can come back tomorrow morning. We got a new 5,000 going to be allowed.
It was a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. So anyway, but the idea that you do everything you can in your power to open the borders for 3 years, 3.5 years, and then you want to come back a month or two from the election and say you're somehow for border security. That's not a joke. Okay.
Hey, real quick too, while we're talking about the election, something that we'll be reminding you about leading up to it. Well, we have been, and I'll remind you now, and again closer to time. But we have a voter guide. AFA's worked on a voter guide.
iVoter Guide. Tell people about it.
iVoter Guide. There's a staff of about 20 or 30 people who have been working for the last 2 years leading up to this election to make sure that we're covering all the states, the Senates. We're also covering
Senate races, the House races, the governor's races.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, all those. Plus, we've also covered a handful of votes where you have an opportunity to vote on life.
Amendments. Yeah.
Amendments. That's the word. It's amendments. So we're covering a handful of amendments and of value in particular states. So you can go to iVoterGuide.com, iVoterGuide.com. The reason I mentioned that, most of our listening audiences, daily, our regular listeners, they understand the issues, they know what's going on, and they're able to make these types of decisions. But you don't know in your church or in your community, you'd be surprised, outside of your small circles, how many people they may believe like you believe, but when it comes to voting, they have a lot of questions. And so having this resource is as much for you as it is for them. So make sure you let your community know, your church members know that there is a Christian voter guide out there called iVoterGuide.com, and you can get that to as many people as possible. It's as simple as typing in your zip code. You type in your zip code, it pulls up all those that you have the opportunity to vote for, and it grades them from very leans conservative, very conservative, all the way over into verified liberal. Yeah. So,
all right, we're going to take a short time out right here and be back with more here on the American Family Radio Network. A lot of more topics to get to when we get back. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Criticism. All of us at one time or another are victims of it. And all of us, sometimes too often, are guilty of it. But there is nothing basically wrong with criticism in itself. It is only that we humans have a way of misusing it. Most of our criticism isn't constructive or even given in a spirit of helpfulness. Most of our criticism is nothing more than our attempt to belittle another's efforts, and that's where the real problem comes in. We have no higher purpose in our criticism than to make someone else look bad. It's too bad that we don't use criticism more like our Maker intended for us to use it. in a spirit of love and concern for those we criticize. You know, I have an idea that if we used it in that method, there would be a lot less of it and more constructive results from it. Did you ever notice that those who get the most criticism usually give very little of it? And at the same time, these people usually do the most good for society and are appreciated the least for their efforts. Sure, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, that's the way it appears. I guess the reason that those who get criticized the most give very little criticism is that they know the deep hurt which cruel, cutting, unfair criticism brings. There are very few hurts that can compare with it. No one is immune to criticism, and those who more fully try to follow the way of the Galileans sometimes suffer the most. Many have been the number of people who have been pure in heart and sincerely trying to help their fellow man who have been criticized ever so harshly. I may be wrong about the matter, but I am of the opinion that if we are to be critical of someone or their way, we should at least offer a better way. Else, what good have we accomplished by our criticism? Any idiot can do the same, that is, be critical without being constructive. The Fisher of Men once said something about having a log in our own eye and trying to take a splinter from the eye of another. He said we would do well to first get the log from our own eye before trying to remove the splinter from our neighbor's eye. You know, the tragedy is that we don't follow this very practical advice. No, we can spot the smallest splinter in another while looking straight through our own log. 'Tis a real shame that this is the case, but the case it is. Once a person sets his sights high in this life, he's opened the door for severe criticism. For history records that those who have done the most for mankind have been those who have suffered the most criticism. So if one has ambition about leaving the world a better place to live, he'd better get prepared for the criticism that will follow. And while we know that to be the truth, somehow it just doesn't take away the hurt that criticism brings.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Therefore, preparing your minds for action and being sober-minded, set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 1:13.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Pardon me. Tim, Fred, Wesley, and Chris, we're all here. We thank you for listening to AFR. And the presidential election is 3 weeks away from today. And it not only will be the presidential election, but there are a lot of important, what they call down ballot votes to be taken. You have 1/3 of the United States Senate. Every 2 years, 1/3 of the Senate, 100 senators. So you have 1/3 of the Senate which are up for re-election or not. And so it's going to make a big difference, Fred.
Absolutely. There's all the polling is showing, certainly West Virginia is likely.
Manchin, he retired.
Manchin's out. Democrat Manchin is out.
Republicans going to get that one.
Republicans going to get that one. Montana
is likely to flip from
Tester
to She.
Yes.
She.
Yeah, so that's 2.
That's not his pronouns. That's his last name.
And he will tell you that, too. Those are not my pronouns.
That's his last name.
My last name, yes.
And Maryland, the former governor of Maryland.
Hogan, is he going to win?
He's a liberal Republican,
right?
But he's doing very well in the polling.
Well,
so that's one of the ones we're going to be watching.
The reason why that would matter, I think, would be in Maryland. to get a Republican, and this fellow has been governor, Hogan, he would be, to get a Republican at all in Maryland would be like earth-shattering almost. I'm talking about to be senator. But what that would mean, people would say, well, he's a liberal Republican. Yes, but he would probably vote with his fellow Republicans 50% or more of the time, probably 70%, and he would probably confirm all the judges.
Yes.
So, yes, he would be a liberal Republican, but he would probably be a vote for good judges. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. The other one we're going to be watching on our election coverage, election night, is Wisconsin. Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat senator there, is in trouble.
Okay.
So
But
there's
it could be a good night for the Republicans would be 52-48 when it's over, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or 53-47?
It could be. And wow, that'd be a
And a good
big,
night for Democrats would be if it stays 50-50,
Yes.
probably.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, one place that Democrats have put a lot of time, energy, effort, and money into is the state of Texas, believe it or not.
Still trying to knock off Ted Cruz?
Yes, and I bring that up because
Still
tonight,
trying.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz and Democratic Representative Colin Allred will meet tonight in their one and only debate of the Texas Senate race that could help determine which party controls the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. Well, that's I don't know anybody that thinks Cruz is going to lose that one, but
Texas has had Democrat senators before.
Texas has been closing between Democrats and Republicans. Closing the Republicans used to win by 8, and now they're winning by 4. So,
It's all the Californians moving to Texas.
Yeah, they're going to have to kick those Californians out and send them back to their.
They hate the way the Democrats have run California, so they go to Texas and vote Democrat.
Well, I tell you what's happening.
And Austin's becoming the hub.
Yes, I tell you what's happening. There's a lot of corporations, because the taxation and regulations of California have gotten so insane that a lot of corporations are leaving California, going to Texas, but they take a lot of their California people with them.
Right.
And I don't know how much they keep voting blue, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would say they need to have some kind of a questionnaire that if you move from California,
That's right.
if you're going to vote blue, you're
keep going.
Go on to New York.
New York.
Go on to New York. Move there. Okay, so I wanted to play this ad, which I think it's a television ad funded by the Trump campaign. And I think, even though you can't see it, it's radio, obviously. A lot of people may have seen that. I think this is one of the most effective ads for people who care about the pushing of the transgendered movement onto our kids in schools by Biden and Harris and a lot of the educators in this country. So I wanted to play this clip, and this is so is this 30 seconds or 1 minute or how long? 30 seconds. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to understand this. Play it.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners, every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
That's a shorter version. The longer version is even more effective, I think. But you get the idea. That's a winner right there with the vast majority of Americans, I think, Fred.
Absolutely, no question. You know, the last speaker there was talking about Kamala Harris is okay with biological males competing against girls in sports. The Wall Street Journal did an editorial on that yesterday. It is the issue that is really building in people's minds, because even amongst liberals, I've said this before, they have daughters that play soccer.
That's right.
That play in other sports, swimming, and their daughters' physical health is being put in danger by this policy that Kamala Harris endorses. She's okay with a big biological male bouncing volleyballs off the heads of their daughters, and they're upset about that.
Well, also she just said, yes, that is true, and that was mentioned in that ad. By the way, did you notice those were all black males?
They
Yes.
were
The
commenting.
voices?
They were in disagreement.
They were commenting?
Yes.
Which is also a strike of genius on Trump's part, because
right.
he's using that ad to try to appeal to black male voters.
That's right.
And black male voters, while traditionally Democrat, you ask black male voters whether boys should be slam dunking on girls in sports, and 99 out of 100 are going to say absolutely not.
In fact, they'll make a joke of it.
Right. So it's smart on Trump to try to go after black male voters
Using
on an issue.
Kamala's position.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
that's what he was doing.
Yes. So, but what was she? They were quoting her saying, listen to her. She says, I want to pay. I'm going to play this again because we're not taking words out of her mouth. I mean, we're not
adding words.
Adding words. She says, and this is not taken out of context, is what our point is. A lot of political ads on both sides oftentimes are taken out of context. But here is where she's talking to an LGBTQ forum with an interviewer, and they're asking her, do you believe in paying? Do you believe that taxpayers should foot the bill for people who want to have sex changes that are incarcerated? And here's how she answers that.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners, every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Apologize for the
the
ugly word there.
Language.
That I didn't remember that.
Your discretion is advised.
Yes. But so anyway, Fred, I just think that everything that if you want to just look at this for raw politics, everything that the Trump campaign can do to cut into Kamala Harris's traditional voting bloc, that is the Democrats' traditional voting bloc, overwhelmingly they get the support of the African American community. Democrats do. But if that goes from 90 to 83, or 90 to 80, then that could have a huge impact. I would let you comment, then Wesley. Huge impact on the election.
Huge impact in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Huge impact
Georgia?
in Michigan and in Georgia. In fact, in Georgia tomorrow, the other demographic that the Democrats depend upon is the women vote. Tomorrow, Harris Faulkner of Fox is having a town hall.
Right.
The only male invited is Donald Trump. The rest of the audience is all women. And the focus is going to be where women, where their opinion is on the economy. That's going to be the big issue.
Okay.
And that's another mistake the Democrats have made, trying to make abortion a big issue. No, women are just as concerned about the economy as men are concerned about the economy. And that's going to be a focus of the town hall. You talk about election strategy, going into Georgia, holding a town hall meeting with only women in the audience to discuss their concerns.
Will Fonnie Willis be there? Part of the audience?
I'm not sure if she's been invited.
Backstage passes.
VIP.
You're welcome.
VIP.
Yeah.
All right, so didn't we have a clip from J.D. Vance here somewhere?
We've got a couple of J.D. Vance clips.
We need to hear one. I mean,
courtesy.
He's got some hits going on out there.
Well, yeah, this one
He's
is a
traveling
good
the
one.
country with his
Yeah,
concert
so this one, Steve cut this one for us. J.D. Vance is giving a speech, and a lady in the audience, her chair falls. She takes a spill, and she yells out for help when this happens. And then J.D. Vance, makes a joke once they realize, after a few minutes, that the lady is okay. Clip 11.
Or the federal government, there's a lot of...
Hold on, just a second, man. We okay? Kamala Harris built this platform behind us. That's what happened.
Build back worse.
I didn't see that. Did anybody see that?
I didn't get to see that.
I'll find the video and post
But did you see it?
I did not.
So when you hear that on radio, in this day and age, you're thinking somebody fired a gun.
Yeah.
That chair falling. But you're saying a chair collapsed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Something
And J.D. Vance says Kamala Harris made that platform.
Well, he made sure. Let's point out he made sure she was okay before he
Correct.
started joking around. But
Yeah.
after he realized she was okay, he did make that was a quick comment.
So he's at a table with a moderator,
All right, let me
and a
see
lady
that.
behind him apparently falls.
Okay, let me see that. I'm sorry, folks. I have
This
to
is
watch
the listen to the article link. That's the image. I'm trying to find the video for you.
Anyway,
bear with me.
So the chair falls. The chair collapses. Now, okay, that's not. She wasn't hurt, right?
No.
Okay, good, because I'm about to make a joke. So she wasn't hurt. Oh, there we go. Now, are we able to watch it now? Well,
This is a different.
Yeah, because all right. So anyway,
I'm on it.
That scream.
Yes.
and that's somebody's either mom or grandma.
That's right.
And they just became famous.
Yes.
And the kids are going to school. Hey, I heard your mom screaming on.
Yeah.
I heard your mom screaming on TV.
But
she screams. She screams like it. That's. She's been bit by a snake.
That's right.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's what
Certainly got the attention.
That's a real scream right there.
Yeah.
Dude,
But J.D. Vance.
Wait, I got to play that again.
You want to play it again?
Yeah, because she does a great job of screaming when her chair collapses. Is that what happened?
Mm-hmm.
At a J.D. Vance rally?
Mm-hmm.
And J.D. Vance is sitting down, waiting to come up on the podium, and he has to turn around behind him to see what happened. Go ahead, because this is a great scream.
Fault of any individual agency or the federal government. There's a lot of.
Hold on, just a second, man. We okay?
Kamala Harris built this platform behind us. That's what happened.
Boom! That was pretty quick right there.
It was.
Yeah.
He's
All
got
right.
a great sense of humor. If you just compare the two for a moment, okay?
J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
Tim Walz.
Okay.
Okay. Both of them. How many times in the last couple of weeks, objectively speaking, it's possible, by the way, that you can laugh. A Democrat and a Republican, regardless of their positions, you can be funny. Okay,
Right.
people can
Right. Yeah.
enjoy listening to you talk, even if you vehemently disagree or even subtly disagree with positions on issues. How many times has Walz? Am I pronouncing that correct? Right, Waltz.
Walz.
How many times have you been listening to him and you felt like, you laugh or you get a sense of a chuckle or he woos you in because you feel like he cares about you individually.
Yes.
That is not community, individually. Versus how many times you're listening to J.D. Vance or you've heard clips of J.D. Vance and you go, that's hilarious. That was, you know what I mean? Like there's a stark difference.
Yeah, J.D. Vance is very quick-witted, and I think I didn't know him at first. I don't think America did, really. Because we knew he was the U.S. Senator from Ohio, a freshman, but that didn't know much about it. I'd never heard him speak maybe a couple of times. But as I said, I've been very impressed, as I know a lot of people have been. He's highly intelligent, very quick, smart, good debater, 40 years old. He does make Trump look like Grandpa. But I think that's the point, that the Republicans are wanting to appeal to a generational, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Not just Trump's already going to be favored with the baby boomers.
Yep.
So they're trying to appeal to a younger demographic to get them to look at, and I think Vance helps them in that respect.
And another big difference between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
Right.
J.D. Vance is not a communist.
Yes, that's true.
You know, Fred, I think that is a good point.
That's fair. Worth discussing.
I was having
joke and a point.
I was having a discussion at a church on Sunday with someone about Tim Walz. This person was not aware that Tim Walz spent his honeymoon in China, took his bride to China. He made multiple trips to China.
Yeah.
Has praised the Chinese Communist government. This is not an exaggeration, folks. He does not deny that he did all of these things.
Yeah, he was asked about that in the debate with Vance, about his appreciation for the Chinese.
While he has a hard time answering for the decisions of President Joe Biden and Vice President Harris, he does not have a hard time defending his record of all his policies and positions, which are as bad or worse.
Yes.
From the advancement of American freedom.
Yes.
All right, joining us right now is our good friend and colleague, Dr. Alex McFarland, who joins us most Thursdays here on Today's Issues. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, everybody.
You've been hearing us talk here, Alex. How do you see the election coming up?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic, fervently praying, calling on people everywhere to pray. And frankly, Tim, I'm asking my fellow clergy to get some conviction and get in their pulpits and talk to their parishioners about the stewardship of the country.
What do we pray for?
Well, I pray that God in his power will overrule any attempts at election fraud. I pray that God would keep us a Judeo-Christian representative republic with stability and prosperity so that we as a nation can contribute to the fulfillment of the Great Commission. And Tim, I think you know where my heart is, but I just want to say this. My home is heaven, obviously. My hope is not in human beings, but in Jesus. But I want to say this to everybody listening. As American citizens, we've been given a great gift. We have a rich Christian history. We've been prospered like no other nation in history. God has blessed us to be a blessing. All that is at risk. Honestly, there's not so much two candidates before us, but two different worldviews and two different futures. Kamala Harris represents a hyper-secular, godless, anti-moral, anti-human rights worldview that will take us further into socialism and globalism. Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he represents American constitutionalism that has been our greatness for 248 years. And I guess I would say to everybody, I'm praying in the name of Jesus that God would give us a reprieve, spare us from the Democrat, godless, Marxist.
So God's a Republican?
And let us
God's a Republican?
Pardon?
Did you say God? Am I hearing you say God's a Republican?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. People say, well, I guess you think God's a Republican. No, but the Republican Party at this moment has principles and policy planks that more closely represent godliness than does the Democrat Party.
I got you.
Alex, Fred here. You know, you just described the worldview, what you see in the Democratic Party. Certainly pro-abortion, socialist, big government. Anti-Israel. Yet you have this group calling themselves Evangelicals for Harris. What do you make of that?
Well, the Evangelicals for Harris are a very misled and misleading bunch. I was approached by them a couple of years ago by Jerusha Graham, who is a granddaughter of Billy Graham, and they called asking if they would be on the radio, and they tried to make much of her, bona fides being a relative of Billy Graham. But let me say this, any group, I don't care what label you attach to yourself, they are not any more evangelical than Howard Stern. Because, it reminds me, guys, of Matthew 7:24. And God knows I wish them no ill. In fact, I pray for their salvation. But in Matthew 7:24, the Lord Jesus says, on the judgment day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, and Jesus will say, I'm sorry, I never knew you. And the alleged Evangelicals for Harris, they're very misleading. They have cherry-picked like a soundbite of Billy Graham from decades ago where he says, the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace.
Mm-hmm. Steve had a story on that.
But here's the thing. Kamala Harris, for killing babies, transgenderism, anti-Israel, unjust taxation of the people, and letting illegals in. We all know the horridly anti-constitutional, anti-God positions of the Harris platform. And if you could face Jesus one day and say, oh, yes, Lord, I promoted the killing of the unborn. I promoted sodomy, which your word calls an abomination. I promoted animosity against the Jewish people. those evangelicals for Harris, I beg people, do not be misled by these dishonest people, but we need to pray for their soul, because those people need to forget this election. Those people need to get right with a God whom they certainly will one day face.
You know, there's another issue here. I know it's down the list of issues that most American voters care about, but I would think this issue I'm about to mention is at least a top 10 issue, and that is America's relationship to Israel. Mm-hmm. And I care about this deeply. Did I get somebody?
That was confirmation by heaven.
Okay, well, that's what I wondered. Was that a ding from heaven there I got? I don't know where that came from, but
I'm getting texts from people listening saying they enjoy this.
Oh, okay. You mean what I'm saying or what you're saying? Or both?
I guess what we're all saying.
Okay, what we're all saying.
We got a lot of Today's Issues fans listening right now.
I got you. Okay. Well, I would just say this. I know for American Christians, especially evangelicals, America's relationship to Israel is going to be more than top 10. It's going to be 3, 2, right in there, or 4, right in there. It's going to be a top 5, okay? So there is a big difference between how Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party, not all the Democrat Party, but a growing, I think almost a majority of the Democratic Party, they want to distance America from Israel. They want to leave Israel to let them fend for themselves. And Israel can fend for themselves pretty good. Okay, I'm not saying that they can't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they can't. But America has always, no matter if we've had a Democrat in the White House or a Republican in the White House, America has always stood as Israel's strongest ally. All right, and Israel has been our strongest ally in the Middle East. And so I'm afraid that Kamala Harris will yield, if she doesn't believe it herself, to the factions that believe in supporting Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, and making Israel, weaken Israel by always telling Israel what to do and nitpicking them when they do things to defend themselves. I think you're going to have a real problem between Israel and the United States if Kamala Harris is elected. I mean, a real problem. And I think President Trump proved in his first 4 years he has a strong admiration and appreciation for Israel, and he will maintain Israel as America's closest ally in the Middle East. Now, Trump also, to his credit, and his son-in-law has something to do with this too, the Abraham Accords.
Yes.
That you can look them up, the Abraham Accords, which were basically little peace deals between, they're not little, but between the Arab countries around there and Israel. And that was kind of his last year in office, Trump. Trump didn't do it himself personally. His son-in-law, Kushner, I think he negotiated a lot of it. But he still worked under.
And the embassy got moved.
The embassy got moved. Yes, the embassy got moved. So Trump has a record of having a strong relationship with Israel, and I think that matters to a significant part of the Republican voting bloc, which is the evangelical Christian community. Alex, thanks so much, my friend.
Blessings.
Okay, we'll talk to you later, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
All God asks of you is faithfulness. Headlines in USA Today. Did you see it this morning? All the odds are against us. Faithfulness is the word.
There's a place for you on the battle line. Engage in the fight for America's families. Visit AFA.net and then take your position. A message from the American Family Association.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Bronson Woodruff. Recovery efforts continue in North Carolina after Hurricane Helene brought major flooding and high winds to the southeast. Now it's reported that at least 251 people across 7 states were killed during Helene, with some families still living without water or power. Over 100 of those deaths occurred in North Carolina. Here's Governor Roy Cooper speaking from Raleigh.
Federal, state, and local partners, along with our volunteers and private sector, have made significant progress in restoring power, water and cell service, opening roads, distributing critical supplies.
Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida as a Category 4 storm and has become the deadliest mainland hurricane since Katrina in 2005. As California voters are voicing their concerns about crime, Vice President Kamala Harris has yet to weigh in on a tough-on-crime ballot measure that's opposed by Governor Gavin Newsom. Fox's William Lajeunesse reports.
Crime is on the ballot in California, where the vice president will choose between the new Kamala Harris and the old. As DA and state AG, Harris oversaw measures reducing felonies to misdemeanors and helped sell a proposition releasing thousands of inmates on early parole. Now many voters want to roll back the reforms Harris supported. Prop 36 increases penalties, returns many misdemeanors to felonies, and mandates prison for many drug offenders.
Meanwhile, next door in Texas, Senator Ted Cruz is trying to defend his seat in the 2024 election. Here's Fox's Brooke Taylor reporting from Dallas.
I spoke to Ted Cruz, who not only acknowledges this tight race, but he tells me that Texas could very well likely end up deciding who controls the Senate. Tonight, he's coming to go head-to-head for the very first time with Congressman Colin Allred in their very first debate. A new Marist poll shows that Cruz is ahead by 5 points. According to the poll, 51% of likely voters statewide say they support Cruz, while 46% support Allred. He is making abortion rights a cornerstone in his campaign, while Cruz tells me he plans to focus on border security, job growth, and comparing their records.
Congressman Allman's campaign says they believe Senator Cruz's seat is more vulnerable than ever. A group of Democrats in Congress appealed to the largest U.S. companies Tuesday to hold on to their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, which advocate for hiring and promotion of individuals based on things such as race and sexual orientation, rather than seeking the best qualified for the job. A handful of U.S. companies, including Ford, Harley-Davidson, John Deere, Lowe's, and Molson Coors, dialed back their DEI initiatives over the summer. God is doing amazing things in Central Africa through a missionary who told God she'd go where no one else wants to go. Here's AFN's Steve Jordahl.
Carol Ward surrendered her life to Christ as a child, and as she grew in her faith, that surrender became total, and she followed God's leading to some of the most dangerous countries in the world for a white woman with long blonde hair. She started by herself in South Sudan in the middle of a deadly civil war, faced imminent death multiple times, and told the Today's Issues crew that God has expanded the ministry.
It's over 1,000 people. We started in Uganda, but now Sudan, South Sudan, Congo, Central Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, Eritrea, Chad, into Cameroon.
She's evangelizing Muslims, including Boko Haram, ISIS, and other terrorists, and they're coming to the saving knowledge of Christ.
And if you connect to a Muslim at a point of contact, their belief system, and you can lead them to the truth, they're getting saved right and left.
She says God is using dreams and visions to bring people to her door.
God came to an executioner in Khartoum. After 4 times the same dream, he's terrified and thinks, I'm on the wrong side. He runs down to Juba, hears Jesus preached in Arabic on our Christian radio station, walks in the station, gives his life to Jesus. He's a head sheikh, imam, #1 murderer.
God is bringing peace to warring tribes, an end to religious violence, and peace to regions that have been at war for generations. Ward says it's getting the attention of world leaders. You can read Carol Ward's story in her book, Lord, Send Us Where No One Wants to Go, at favorintl.org.
Find more news online at afn.net.
Hi, it's Sandy Rios, your old friend from the morning show. So many crucial and frightening events are unfolding before our eyes. I'd like to invite you to come over to the podcast, Sandy Rios 24/7, so that we can work our way through these difficult times together. AFR.net, any podcast platform, or at sandyrios.com. And one more thing, my book, God's Velvet Hammer, is now available on Audible. So come join us at Sandy Rios 24/7, and remember, God's Velvet Hammer, available at Audible.
The cell phone is the new transistor radio. Just like your grandfather may have carried his radio wherever he went, you carry your phone with you all the time, which means you can listen to American Family Radio anytime you want with the AFR app. You'll find live talk programming, 24-hour Christian music, and access to podcasts of all your favorite AFR shows. Just go to the App Store and download the AFR app for free. Your grandfather would be proud.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Hey, Wesley, if somebody's listening and they can't listen to all the show, but they want to listen to today's Issues,
No, it's just too bad.
Is that right?
It's too bad.
That's fortunate. We have podcasting.
Yeah, we do.
It's a brand new world out there, people. Podcasting. How do they listen to the show if they can't listen?
Now, for those that are not tech savvy, it is too bad. But for those that want to learn something new, or maybe are familiar with smart devices, smartphones, iPads, computers, things like that, then you can go to afr.net. AFR.net. There you can stream the audio live of the same audio, same radio that you get from a terrestrial station or from your radio box. Also, too, there we have there's a lot there. You got our lineup, so you'll be able to see when the other programs are throughout the day, but also we podcast and archive both this program and other programs as well. So all of our radio contents at afr.net. Also, you can download the app. Download the AFR app, and you can listen 24/7 in any location. So if you run out of signal from your car or from your radio, you can pull up the app and you can continue to listen beyond the end of the radio signal. So
good deal.
Yes,
it's called
sir.
podcasting, and we have. I think I checked the numbers that were sent to me. We had 130,000 downloads of this show last month.
Mm-hmm. That's just today's issue.
The podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, that didn't include Trivia Friday. And so anyway, we're very, very pleased with those numbers. Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us now. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody. I have discovered that my smartphone is only as smart as I happen to be at the moment. There's so many things I try to do with my phone that don't work, or
or you don't know how to work.
So my smartphone, I might have an issue with the title smartphone. At the time, I'm not that smart.
Hey, I'm looking at all four of our phones here, and
all got them out.
Well, I think everybody's thankful for the OtterBox.
Yes, yes, it has saved my phone. Which is a case that you put your phone in that's pretty much drop proof. So,
my OtterBox has saves my phone at least once a week.
Absolutely.
from just destruction because I drop it or it falls off the table
Yep.
Yeah, I bet we could get OtterBox to sponsor AFA.
Really?
Why not? We're giving them a whole lot of free press right now.
Well, I'm just saying it works. There may be other products that are similar. I'm sure there are, but there's these definitely protect your phone. All right, Steve. Good morning again to you. What's on your agenda this morning?
There's a lot of political stuff to get to, but I wanted to start with this because this just, to me, you think Hunter Biden had a bad day when he left his laptop off at the computer repair place and never picked it up?
That was a bad day.
That was a bad day. Well, this guy, his name is Howells.
Like at the moon?
Yeah, just like that. I'm trying to see if they give his first name in here. But James Howells, 39 years old, he accidentally threw away his hard drive, which had $520 million worth of Bitcoin on it.
What?
And now it's gone.
Oh man, I'm not sure what can you say to the brother.
Well, he's
let's go to lunch.
He is now spending millions of dollars to go through the landfill to try to see if he can recover it. But
oh my,
yikes!
Was he drinking?
I don't know if
On drugs. I would say I was drinking.
Yeah,
on
right.
drugs.
Right.
No,
Or on drugs.
I wouldn't say I just did it because I'm dumb.
It just says he accidentally threw out the hard drive containing his Bitcoin stash.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I don't-
questions right there.
I want to hear everybody's Bitcoin. How does that own? So you don't got that like on a.
You don't want to get into that.
I just wanted to get everybody's reaction.
Yeah, no, I don't.
How does that work? Can somebody explain?
Listen,
to
I
me
got a
how Bitcoin
couple
works?
friends that do that, but
I could, but it would take you more time than we have.
Yeah, that's what.
I tried a little bit, dabble in that a little bit, but it's too much. Yeah, to each his own, but it's too much work. I just said I can't keep up with all this stuff. Just if I'm going to invest, I'm going to go in the stock market.
I was joking, but is there a simple way to describe why, if it's on his drive, it's not like on a card or in a bank somewhere?
Because it's like computer generated.
It's a virtual token that you
Yeah.
have on your computer.
It's not
that
even
acts
real.
like cash. It's not real, but it is valued real.
So it's
You
not
can
the
trade it.
cloud though.
No, it's on a device.
That's the point. Yeah.
It's like you put cash in your wallet. If you
It'd be like tossing your
cash.
wallet out,
right,
by accident.
Yeah, with
So-
$520 million in the wallet.
So it's like keeping money in your mattress.
Just about. As long as you don't.
And the house burns down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's. I was.
So what's his name? I bet he didn't tell everybody what lake it's in.
Right. His name is Finders Keepers. His name is James Howells.
And what happened? Where did
British.
Where did James toss it? Or it's a landfill.
It's in a landfill. So
Oh.
he tossed it in the garbage and.
How big is the landfill?
Big enough that he's spending
We're having too much fun with
several
this.
$1 million to have them excavate the landfill. I wouldn't want that job.
Oh, bless him. I don't know. I feel bad for
Who's
him.
gonna be the first to tell him that's a lost cause?
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Live and
anyway.
learn.
Honey, I had a retirement all
Yeah,
figured out.
$500 million.
You got to go back to work.
Can you get insurance?
That's a
on
pretty big live and learn.
I've got questions.
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
do you
know.
do you believe him? Do you think he's making this up? Let me see that story.
Hey, let me see that story.
Let me see that story.
That's why I brought it in, 'cause I figured it would.
It's a British man.
Yes.
British man has figures. A British man has fired it. That was.
You can't say
I'm
that.
sorry. That was
Take that
uncalled
back.
for. That was uncalled for as an American.
You
I
get
should
extra
not be-
points if you could read the story.
I
of
should not be
British
saying that about our British people who think they're smarter than we are. But Howells assembled a team to carry out a $13 million excavation of the landfill, which would take between 18 and 36 months to carry out. So you're going to have weather hitting down on that. Anyway, I don't know what to say to that, except, you heard the old expression, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your Bitcoin on one computer.
That's for sure.
There you go.
Huh? That's a fable. Go ahead. Next story.
All right. There's been a clip going around of Bill Clinton, who's been campaigning. We think he's trying to campaign for Kamala Harris, but he ends up campaigning for Donald Trump in this particular instance. So he was at a garden gathering, and he was talking with the people. And what's going around is him saying that if everybody had been vetted at the border, then Laken Riley, the Georgia girl that was murdered by an illegal alien, would not have lost her life. He doesn't mention Lincoln by name, but we figured there had to be some context, right? He wouldn't just say, hey, Biden did a terrible job and killed Lincoln Riley, which he did. So we wanted to play you, if you've heard that, we're not going to play both of them. I want to play the long clip, and embedded in this long clip is what everybody's listening to. But this will give you some context, and we talked a little bit about it this morning. Even the context doesn't seem to make it any better. Let's listen to.
And on the immigration thing, she's the only candidate who has actually endorsed a bill that would hold down immigration in any given year to a certain point, and then make sure we gave people a decent place to live. We didn't divide people from their children. And we did total vetting before people got in. Trump killed the bill. Why? You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our population up, so we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work.
I'm Donald Trump, and I endorse this message.
Man, he talks like I do when I got a crick in my neck. Huh, is he okay?
Yes, he's just getting old.
Just his voice is getting very weak?
Yeah.
Well, but you're right. That was a backhanded endorsement of Trump.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right there.
You have to understand the timeline. The timeline is he goes to the Democrat talking point about this bill would have been a great thing for immigration. But then he refers to the Georgia student.
Yeah.
The man who has been arrested is in the country illegally. He's from Venezuela. He came into this country long before the bill was ever even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
So he condemns
under a very open border policy.
The vetting that was going on under Joe Biden. He says the vetting was terrible, and that's what allowed this illegal from Venezuela into this country.
Excuse me for saying it like this. What Bill Clinton right there said about vetting is idiotic.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? You don't vet 10 million people.
No.
Walking across the border with a backpack and you don't vet. What are you going to ask them? Hey, what's your name? Where are you from? Can we get some background history on you? That's a joke.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Why would we expect them? They're not carrying any detailed paperwork. Why would we expect them to tell the truth when they arrive at the border?
The big.
I know that's just silly. That's just for a former president to say we should have vetted 10 million people and maybe Lincoln Riley wouldn't have died. It's just anyway. I don't know. He needs to go back to the pasture.
Well, we mentioned this in the first hour, and that's that the problem at the border, the allowing of the surge, so to speak, or the invasion. That's the proper usage or wordage at this point on year 4 of the Biden administration. The invasion that has taken place into our country by those that are coming here illegally is a loser for the Democrats. There's no way. The only way. Well, I don't think there is a way. Fred, let me ask you, do you think even if they were hypothetically to say we blew it, we got this one wrong, we tried it our way, we tried it this way, and it didn't work, so now we're going to reverse it. Even if they did that, don't you think it's too far gone? It's just the issue altogether that I think do you think that would even work? No. Do you think it's too far gone for them to do anything that can?
The conservative estimate right now is 15 million have come into the country. The conservative estimate that there's 300, 400 that from the terror list that are wandering around in this country right now. No, the damage from what Biden and the Harris administration has done is going to be felt for years.
So then
years.
So don't you think, though, politically speaking, they would be better to avoid the topic altogether? I know it's hard to do. I just think I'm trying to come at this politically from every angle to try to figure out how they can overcome this disaster. And I'm not seeing any angle, even trying to be as objective as possible, that they can overcome the damage that they've done. I'm talking about to get elected.
Yeah.
You just understand the problem here? I mean, everywhere you look at it.
The results of their policies are unfolding.
That's right.
Day by day.
That's right. Yes.
Venezuelan gangs in Colorado.
Yes.
Basically breaking into apartments.
And there's no answer any way you look at it.
Terrorizing people. You know, the other night, J.D. Vance was being interviewed by Martha Raddatz.
Yep.
Remember, we dealt with this story yesterday. Martha Raddatz says, well, it's only a few Venezuelan
That's right.
gangs.
That's what she said, just a few.
And he looks at her and he says, are you listening to yourself?
He asked her that.
Are you listening to yourself?
Vance
It's only a few Venezuelan gangs. Yeah, well, it doesn't, it's not happening at Martha Radiss's house, but it is happening to these poor folks in these apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado.
That's a problem.
All right, next story, Steve.
All right. Speaking of immigration, the big issue that Democrats seem to have with the Trump border policy was that they say separated parents and children or children from adults.
Like Barack Obama did.
Like Barack Obama did, and like you're supposed to send the kid to jail with the illegal that crosses or the trafficker that crosses. But listen, Republicans have nothing on Democrats when it comes to separating children from parents. They're considering right now in federal law a rule that says if you are part of the foster system, you can only foster kids if you affirm their delusions that they want to be another gender. Otherwise, you can't foster kids, which is bad enough. But according to Alex Roque, who speaks for HHS, this was on an HHS website. He says families' rejection of a child's gender identity cannot be dismissed as a personal view. If they're denying them food or denying them access to school or denying them other things, there would be headlines, there would be prosecutions. HHS is talking about taking kids away from parents if the parents don't allow the kid to transition. This view is being kind of backed up by a lady named Bernadette Boyles, who's the president and general counsel of the Child and Parental Rights Campaign. She says parents in a handful of states have already sounded the alarm, claiming local authorities have deemed the parents unfit guardians for refusing to allow their kids to go undergo gender transition. She says an uptick in families that are having their custody of their child being taken away, investigated, or disrupted because they believe in biological reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's already happening to a certain extent in various jurisdictions, California being one. California says, no, the parents don't have a right to know. The biological parents don't have a right to know what's happening with their kids. And we're going to deal with it ourselves.
That's going to be, that's the federal government you're talking about?
No.
HHS. Well,
that's HHS.
HHS is doing the foster system, but they're using it as an excuse. The federal government, HHS is saying that there will be prosecutions. Local governments have already
I'm just saying, if you do that in a red state, and you're going to have some violence take place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You would think.
Yeah. Am I right?
But that's been the thinking of the Democratic Party for a long time. It's Hillary Clinton's "It Takes a Village." That came from a mindset that the state knows best how to raise your children.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I know they want to do that, and I think if Harris is elected president, they'll try to push that.
Absolutely.
Stuff, but you're going to get massive resistance from.
I would hope.
You are. If you start trying to do that in red states, I'm talking about the feds come in and say to people who live in blue states. Even a lot of them are going to, the individuals are going to resist if you have the HHS. You're talking about, what we're talking about here is coming into a home, HHS, Health and Human Services, and say, we're taking your 15-year-old away from you because you won't give them gender transition.
Right.
Surgery, right?
Or
your parents.
Or chemicals or binders.
I don't think that's going to happen. All right.
They're apparently trying, though.
But they would if they could, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, go on to the next story.
All right. I wanted to talk. Greg Gutfeld has got a very interesting take on a number of things. He's a comedian that's on Fox's The Five, has his own show as well. But he's conservative. He's not a Christian, but he's very respectful of Christianity, and he is pro-life. He's pro-life to the core. And he was talking about the Catholic vote. There's a certain percentage of Catholics that kind of consistently vote Democrat. And they complain part of the reason he's hearing that they don't want to vote for Donald Trump is because he's just not a nice person, right? They don't like his character. Well, listen to what he has to say, cut 13.
If you are a Catholic and you are upset about Donald Trump's character, And yet you are okay with voting for a person who wants abortion on demand. You're worse. I'm sorry, you're worse. And I'm not making, I'm just saying from when you analyze the beliefs of a Catholic being pro-life, you have no stance at all. If you are okay with abortion, you can't say, oh, Trump has a lousy character. No, you got no character. You have none.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty. Hey, he's right. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Abortion is the taking of a human life. It is murder. That's what it is. And yes, we always say if a young woman has done that in the past, there is forgiveness in Jesus Christ. No question about that. But when a government advocates for the right of a person to take the life of an innocent baby, that is absolutely ungodly. And most serious Catholics take a strong pro-life stand. They do.
Yes, that's true.
And his passion on this particular issue, I share with it 100%. And that's one thing. Gut feels.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I've never, just like him, I've never been able to reconcile. It's one thing. I don't agree with staying home and not voting, okay? I think you should exercise your right to vote. However, I understand from someone who doesn't want to get involved in dirty politics to stay home, but it's another thing to get involved with the other side if you're a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the argument. If you're a Catholic,
right, you can't.
It's one thing for a Catholic to say, I don't like Trump, I don't like his attitude, whatever, I'm not going to vote. There's no good, if you say there's no good candidate and stay home, that's fine. But as a Catholic, which is his passionate position, you can't purposely vote for the Democratic platform knowing that their position on abortion.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, let's end with this. Regis Philbin, the former talk host who went to his reward in 2020, has come back from the grave. And he just got tired he missed hosting the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Remember that one where they got a choice of 4 things? Well, he got Tim Walz to come on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And this was one of the questions that they asked. Cut 14.
All right, Tim, here's your question. Which of the following things you've said is a lie? You were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square protests. You retired as a command sergeant major. You carried weapons in a combat zone. You have children via in vitro fertilization. I'm sorry, Tim, but all of these are lies.
That's pretty brutal.
Courtesy of the Daily Meme.
How did they get Regis Philbin? Must be an impersonator or AI.
AI.
Yeah. Can be done.
Can his family get royalties off AI imagery of
or a lawsuit? I don't think they can do a lawsuit because he's kind of a public figure, but I don't know about royalties.
Yeah. Anyway, so what they're pointing out there is that Governor Walz has told whoppers on all 4 of those things, right?
Yes.
Very much
so.
All right. We are out of time for the program today. Thank you for listening.
We've talked a good bit about the election coming up, so just remember to go visit iVoterGuide.com, iVoterGuide.com.
And we got 3 weeks until the election, and you heard what Alex McFarland said last half hour, that we do need to lift that up in prayer.
And vote early if you can.
Yeah, vote early and often. Wait, did I
bring Regis Philbin with you?
I don't think that was. I think you crossed wires there. I don't think that's what you were early and often.
Sorry, I didn't mean it like it sounded. No. All right, so we're out of time. Thanks to Fred, Wesley, Steve, Chris, Alex, and Brent Creeley.
Like it or not, we'll be doing it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow. So have a good day, everybody.